Hi, my name is Zuzanna and I'm one of the student curators of the Barber Institute's online exhibition Sights of Wonder. Today I will be talking about the complex relationship between photography and painting as represented in the exhibition. Both these media, to varying extents, can be creatively manipulated by the creator to depict people or landscapes in ways that influence our understanding of these subjects. A photographer can choose a specific angle, include or exclude elements in the frame, or stage elements of a photo which might appear to be completely natural. However, a painter has unlimited freedom to present their impression of a scene, which might be considered as a more suggestive, personal image than a photograph. In Sights of Wonder, Jemima Blackburn's watercolour The Prince of Wales in Thebes raises questions of how accurate is the scene, and how much of it is the artist's imagination. The watercolour was made while Blackburn briefly accompanied the royal party in Egypt during March 1862. She portrayed the prince in the middle of a diplomatic engagement. He is receiving gifts from the Viceroy of Egypt, Said Pasha. While she was present during this occasion, we cannot be sure if her depiction is totally accurate. As a painter, she had the option of manipulating elements like composition, grouping of figures, and specific details to make the painting more aesthetically pleasing to look at. As we can see, looking at the watercolour, the prince is conveniently standing in the middle of the group, a clear indication of his status. He is surrounded by diplomats, attendants, excavation workers, and animals arranged in an almost perfect semicircle. Included by Blackburn in the far distance are two monumental sculptures, the Colossi of Memnon, a famous site and tourist attraction. However, it is not possible to see the Colossi from the place where the prince was attending the excavation. Blackburn has used her own artistic license to enhance the watercolour with an appealing detail, placing the scene in what she thought was a more Egyptian-looking landscape. It is evident that Blackburn altered elements of her painting to enhance its appeal. This alteration would have not been as easy for a photograph. In the mid-Victorian era, when photography was still in early days of its development, such precise alterations would have required a lot of skill from the photographer. Today, manipulating photographs is so easily done that almost anyone with a computer can do it in their own home through editing programs such as Photoshop, or even by adding filters and photo enhancers via Instagram. However, for a 19th century photographer, such manipulation would have required hours of meticulous cutting and pasting of the already developed photograph. The painting medium gave the artist more freedom to create an image in the way she wanted to see it, and as we will see, this can have more profound effects than just presenting a subjective or enhanced portrayal of a scene. The photograph, Jerusalem from Mount of Olives, was taken by Bedford on the first day of the party's arrival in Jerusalem. Taken from a hill covered in olive trees, the view opens out to include the rooftops of Jerusalem in the distance, with the dome of rock clearly visible on the right. Bedford photographed famous views and landmarks which would have been recognized by fellow photographers and enthusiasts of the region. We might wonder, however, if this particular view would have been readily identified as Jerusalem by someone less knowledgeable. The dome of the rock, tiny in the distance, is the only real indication of place, as the background blurs and merges into different tones of grey. The landscape is hilly, and the dark shrubs are pulling our attention away from the horizon. It could be argued that this is not the most representative shot of Jerusalem, nor the East, as the Victorian public would have imagined it. At the time of the Prince's tour, an aesthetic trend called Orientalism was in full swing. This term was used to describe the fascination of Europeans with the art and cultures of the Middle and Near East, especially Egypt, Morocco, Lebanon and Syria, and other Arab countries. People in Europe were drawn to what for them seemed different and exciting. However, it often led to the creation and propagation of misconceptions about Arab cultures, wrongly portraying them as exotic, wild, and primitive. When we see Bedford's monochrome photograph, the stark landscape escapes that trend, showing a barren, monotone desert with a few shrubs and no artfully placed figures. Even though the photograph could be considered Orientalist, it is not an overly aestheticized, stereotypical Middle Eastern view. Was this image underwhelming for the Victorian viewer? Or did they appreciate the different take on the Middle East that this new technology allowed? Whilst answers to these questions remain open, we can, however, compare Bedford's photograph to a painting of the exact same location and from almost the same time. The painting by Edward Lear is his impression of the same view that Bedford photographed just 3 years later. The image is quite different. Most obviously, the painting is in colour. The view of Jerusalem is much clearer than in the photograph, as it seems to be closer within the frame. The Dome of the Rock can be recognised in the painting as well as the photograph. Lear also includes a fragment of the mountain from which the view was supposed to be seen, with a goat in the front and more animals and shepherds in the distance. The painting creates a romanticised image of Palestine and Jerusalem. The animals, shepherds and greenery suggest an idyllic landscape, a peacefulness of a faraway, simpler life. Lear's painting poses a stark contrast to Bedford's photograph. The colours and details of the painting lend itself to a more suggestive reading of the scene than Bedford's black and white photograph. Would this painting visually appeal more to the Victorians? Its aesthetic value is undeniable. However, photography as a still fairly new medium presented itself as an exciting opportunity through which to see a snap of reality, made at the actual place on the spot. Paintings and photographs of the Middle East present different opportunities for capturing images. Blackburn's The Prince of Wales in Thebes and Lear's Jerusalem looking northwest show the ways in which an artist could enhance a real view or moment and alter it to convey their particular vision. Such images were not intended to be completely accurate and were always subjective. Photographs, on the other hand, even though they could to some degree also be manipulated, offered views that contrasted with the romantic aestheticism of these paintings. Bedford's view of Jerusalem indeed offers a challenge to the widespread mystification of the Middle East. The view is no longer enhanced or staged, but shows a starker reality than that which the Victorian viewer might have expected.